I'm Eric Loy, and welcome to Eric Loy Interviews. On this podcast, we talk to folks from the VTuber community about their channels, their talents, their stories, where they come from, and their plans for the future. Joining us on the show is Kyou Kamiya. Hi.
Hello.
Introduce yourself to everybody, please.
Hi, my name is Kyou Kamiya. I am a Songbird Tengu VTuber. What I do on my channel is I play a lot of puzzle and indie games, and I sometimes sing.
Well, I just saw you doing a jigsaw puzzle the other day. Just got in
Yeah.
the very last part of it, just when you were done. I was trying to get in there to say hi, and I just missed it. But that is that would be something for me. I would just have that on in the background, and I would be absolutely content. Very, very,
Yeah.
very
I
soothing.
made my chat join me.
Is that something that you do off stream? Do you do puzzles?
Yeah. I have so many hours in that game, and when I'm bored, I'll just open it up when I have nothing else to do.
There's always somebody's always got a comfort game one way or the other, and that would be something that you can always tune in anytime, turn on and join in and enjoy yourself and take a few hours out of your day. You also, I notice, uh, mentioned that you do a lot of music type stuff. Is that something that you're going to be doing more of on the channel and maybe do some covers?
I have a song that I'm working on right now. I'm working with a producer or a composer, and we're working on writing a song together.
Is that is
I
that
plan to do karaoke songs
yeah,
in the future too.
yeah, do a
I
karaoke
just
stream?
have to figure out how to get soundproofing.
Yeah, I'm trying to do that myself. Trying to get that to work correctly, and that's something that people who haven't had a microphone don't have any idea what we're talking about. But
Yeah.
believe me, it does sound better when you do have soundproofing up in the room. You'd be surprised how much better it sounds. When did you get started on VTubing?
So I originally started a couple of, no, back in 2022. I think my anniversary is probably around February or so
Hmm.
of
And
when I started, but then I took a couple of, like, I streamed intermittently on and off because I had a lot of, like, I was doing school and I was busy, and then I recently got back into it.
mm, was it something that you just saw someone else doing and wanted to try on your own, or was it something that you just picked up and decided to do?
It's just something I decided to pick up and do because I saw it going around. I was like, oh, you can stream and you don't have to show your face, and I get to interact with strangers online.
Did you were you a entertainer before you started doing this?
Not particularly
Didn't
when it
like
comes
get
to like,
didn't like getting up on stage with in front of everybody?
oh, I did drama when I was in high school, and I did music for 4 years,
Mm.
and even before then too. So I guess I've always been on stage doing things, but not really in the sense of like solo.
And have you been doing mostly solo? Have you been doing any collaboration?
Once in a while,
Hmm.
I'll join other people or I'll get people to join me.
If you're doing a lot of the puzzle type games, that there probably isn't too much that you would have another person on with you for.
Uh, we can do puzzles together.
Yeah.
Or I also play other types of games too. I play sometimes FPS games like first person shooters.
Hmm.
There's also co-op games, so
Which
or I'll just get people on my channel and we just talk.
yeah, yeah, it's so you already have different types of games on there. What other types of games do you do besides the puzzle games? What type of game? What names of some games?
Um, hmm, Minecraft.
Hmm.
I do Genshin. I've done. Oh boy, I have to look. Let's see here.
I put them on the spot.
I've done Slime Rancher. I've done.
Now
I guess I've done Valorant.
I've seen Slime Rancher before. I've seen some folks do that. Is that seems to be a game they keep updating? Am I right on that?
Yeah, the second game, there's two games. One of them, Slime Rancher 1, and Slime Rancher 2 is
Hmm.
still currently in the works.
Ah,
So they're updating it as it goes along.
I know. I'm getting that with I've had that with Stardew Valley over the years.
Yeah, Stardew Valley is the same. Stardew Valley is completely released. It's just the creator really loves the game, so they update it often.
Well, it was the best few dollars I spent several years ago, and as soon as we get the new update again, I'll be back at it again. I'm sure another several hours taken from from my life and irritating the wife, no end. But it's great that you're able to do this and have an audience with you and still kind of keep a little bit of a barrier with yourself with your model.
Yeah,
Now,
I like my community's been very nice.
did I see that you did your own model?
Not my current one. My current one that I'm using is by a Meiji Studio, but I in the future plan to draw my own model. I made my own Vroid model. I kind of like edited it and drew it. And I've been learning other things, like my other assets on my stream, like all my emotes, my overlays, everything else I draw myself.
Did were you have you always been an artist type person?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've always just like I like creating. I like I have a million hobbies, so I just figured I'll do everything myself.
Well, if you look up on Kyo's Twitch channel, there's a book and a half to read about about what you're into. One of the things that really strikes me is all of the different languages you're trying to learn at the same time. Of course, English, obviously, but you're speaking Mandarin and Japanese, but there's another list of several different languages there. I've barely got English. How do you do this?
Um, well, I've always been interested in learning languages, and I just kind of pick it up as I get into different things. So ASL I learned because I thought it was interesting and it's like useful to know.
Yes.
And then I picked up Gaelic because I was like, oh, it's a dying language. It would be fun to learn a dead language.
Well,
And
you,
then I picked up like Japanese through anime and stuff. And then I studied abroad in Korea for a bit. So I also picked up Korean through there.
now is Korean. I knew somebody who was trying to learn the written Korean,
Hmm.
which I gather is a little. Is it tougher to learn written Korean than the language Korean, the spoken language?
Oh, definitely. It's easier writing because they have an alphabet system.
Mm.
Understanding what they're saying is a little bit different because the grammar and then the way the words work is very confusing.
Yeah. Anytime you've got, if you're used to English and the syntax gets moved around a little bit, then then people who are used to English are completely lost with a lot
Yeah.
of different languages. And now I look at the different languages you're learning, and tell me that learning Korean isn't the same as learning Gaelic. I mean, that, there's got to
Oh
be.
no.
I mean, you're talking some really far out different spectrum languages here to learn. So that it's that really blows my mind that you're able to do this because I can barely keep the one language straight.
Oh. Well, a lot of the East Asian languages like Japanese, Korean, and Mandarin, they're very, very similar to each other. Like if you know one, it's really easy to pick up another. But
Hmm.
Gaelic, I've been learning like French, and it's kind of similar to like one of those Latin languages. So there's a little bit of a similarities in grammar there. So you kind of find differences and similarities between the languages you already know, and it's kind of easy to pick up through there.
Now I know that the Chinese language has many dialects in mainland China as well as abroad. And is Mandarin kind of the base of Chinese language?
Yeah. So Mandarin is just the standard dialect, I guess.
Hmm.
Um,
Kind of like English for a lot of the English speaking. There's a basic English, but there's also dialects off of that.
yeah, so you know how like you have like North American English, which is kind of like I guess people call it the American accent,
The American accent.
versus British, um, versus the British accent or the Australian accent or maybe Irish accent or a Southern accent. Those are all different branches of the English variation. Although I
Yeah.
think
And there's one
I
other
feel like
language on here that I've never heard of before, and I'm going to probably say it wrong. Hakka, is that right?
yeah, that's a dialect of Mandarin.
Oh, it is a dialect of Mandarin. So it's kind of an offshoot, or is it a adaptation?
It's a little bit like Cantonese. After years and years and years, they've kind of split off into their own cultural group and formed their own language.
That's neat. My hat's off to you for that. That alone, learning those different languages, and of course, American Sign Language. I'm always um, shamed that I should have learned that a long time ago because it is so helpful. Being able to
Yeah.
being able to communicate in all those different languages, does that does that help you when you go on and are trying to keep up a banter with an audience?
I think so. It's kind of interesting. It always comes up in conversation when I'm talking to people.
Mhm.
They're like, "Oh, I see you know this language or so and so." Like, what are the languages? And so it keeps me a bit connected with people who speak all kinds of languages. You have something in common. But I do have some people who come in and they speak a language that I don't know, and then I have to be like, I don't understand.
Does that frustrate you because of all those different languages they have to pick one you don't know?
Yeah.
Do I have to add that one to the list?
It's like, I'll learn this one too.
Have you used the parts of the language mixed together? Say you'd be speaking to someone in English, and maybe there's something that happens that there isn't quite an English phrase for, but there is a Japanese phrase for. Have you have you used that in conversation?
Um, Not really exactly, but more so the opposite way around, where I'll be speaking in Japanese and like, I don't know how to say it in Japanese, but I'll know the word in Mandarin or English.
So you mix it the other way rather than mix it in with the English. But
Yeah.
well, that's awfully cool. But then you add that to the other things that you're able to do with the guitar, the singing, uh, going online and entertaining people, and that is about as variety as you can get for a streamer. Is that something you're wanting to do for this year? Is continuing to expand what you do online?
Yeah, I have a lot of interesting plans that I want to work on. Like I have a big list of ideas that I want to do. Like one of the things I've been interested in doing is if I get hand tracking, I want to see if it's possible to be able to do sign language on stream.
Oh, okay. I've never seen that. Uh, that would be completely new, and you certainly are going to a completely different audience that way, and being inclusive, which is always good for this community.
I know hand tracking is very difficult to do, especially with an online model. So I don't know exactly how that would work, but I think it'd be really cool if people would pursue that. And I also like a bunch of other interesting ideas. Like one of them I was thinking about is that I think it'd be really cool if people had the ability to like if you had a camera attached to your chest and you're able to like have you ever seen those IRL streamers?
Yes, yes.
So imagine like you could take your model and you could put it against an overlay, and the overlay was attached to your chest. So you would be able to go outside and be able to track yourself at the same time, but as you're outside.
So the movement would be your movement, but
Yes.
with your model instead of you.
Yes. And then the camera that you see in the background behind the model would be what you are seeing yourself too, because it's just a camera. So you're kind of 2.5Ding the world. So you would be exploring, and people would be like, oh, you're looking at stuff.
You're creating new dimensions.
Yeah, I think it's kind of interesting. Like, I like thinking about ways that VTubing could go that most people wouldn't have thought of or haven't seen personally.
Well, there's a lot of things that you can do, and being able to expand and do things like that, and being innovative is certainly something that VTubing has thrived on. And if you can do something like that, people will jump on it really quickly, and hopefully you get patent on it.
Well,
So
I don't know about patent.
if you come up with a way to do it, I hope you get all credit for it because it would take off in a hurry. And the sign language thing is very interesting too because it being the VTuber and the virtual um, type of quote unquote, for better word, world that those who are not, who don't have every visual sense or hearing sense would kind of be left out of it in a way, I imagine.
Well, yeah, especially because of a lot of people who are hard of hearing in the deaf community. One of the ways they rely on is either through subtitles or lip reading, and lip reading is something that you can't exactly do through VTubing.
Yeah, that would be pretty tough.
And yeah, and not everybody has closed captions on their streams. So, like, I personally have closed captions on my stream, but not everybody does. So
Hmm.
I think sign language would also be a really cool feature.
And folks know if they've clicked the wrong button on their television every once in a while that they get the automatic closed captioning that it's sometimes it's not even close. You
Oh
just
yeah.
you're all over the place with that. So that's great. And what else are you looking for? I mean, you're obviously a very intelligent person with a lot of ideas. What else you got up your sleeve?
Well, I've also been learning video editing and animation. I've uh, recently I've been just focusing on drawing and working on assets for my stream. But the other things that I really want to learn is video editing. I want to learn how to live 2D like rigging so I can rig other things in the future. Um, I've been learning how to 3D model on Blender
Hmm. And
as well as to mix songs and compose.
and by the way, you also do surgery on the side on the weekends.
Well,
You're
I
a
am in
person
the
that
medical field.
yes, you're a person of many talents. That is really something. That's it's amazing to have your fingers in so many pies and be able to and obviously, am I right in saying that you're a person who's wanted to learn and you're always kind of looking for something to learn?
Yeah, I enjoy learning. I love picking up different skills just to be like I know how to do it on my own and I don't need to ask for help, which is a problem in my own right, but that's just how it goes.
Well, those of us who already know everything don't need to ask any questions. We can just go and do it. Except, of course, by we I mean you, because I don't know anything. That's why I'm asking the questions. Um, the that is that's great to see somebody that is really wanting to learn more and more and better themselves. And you are coming up with ideas to not just for yourself, but for people to be included in the community and enjoy themselves too. That says a lot about your character.
I've always like I feel that everybody should have a right to enjoy what they enjoy and there should be no barriers to that.
Yep, and I get this feeling that you're going to come up with some stuff that people are going to be very thankful for. Not just your channel and your music. Speaking of the music part, when you do get going with, let's say, you have some karaoke going in the future, what type of music are you going to be singing?
Doing all kinds of songs, both English songs, Japanese songs, like anime OSTs from games and stuff. Basically a little bit of everything.
And
My pronunciation might be a little bit bad though, because I do know some Korean songs and some French songs, but I think I have to practice those a bit more.
I see a lot of folks now doing this type of music that alternates back and forth between English and Japanese, especially. Um, that doesn't necessarily rhyme, but goes along with the music and the flow of it. Um, is that the type of music you're talking about?
Hmm. No, I don't think I've heard songs like that.
Yeah.
But I do know that a lot of Japanese songs do like to sprinkle in English words to sound cool.
Yeah. Sometimes it's kind of random.
Yeah, especially if you understand English and you're just kind of like, why are they saying like that in English?
Well, there's always marketing. You always draw them in that way, but it does seem like that, and maybe V-tubing is a part of it, that cultures are blending a little bit more than they maybe would in this day and age.
I do find that's like I think it's quite cool, to be honest, rather than something that's like, oh, I think it's an interesting social phenomenon when you look at it because you're like, oh, the I think I've seen this before where because of how fast things are changing and like what might happen today might be completely different tomorrow and we might discover something completely new. We kind of end up seeing that um
Yeah, I think so. I think
the
so.
the cultures and the cultures change and then people kind of go, oh, that's kind of neat. I want to take this and I want to adapt it to my own culture or something that I find personal to me. So you see this in a lot of crossover with music where somebody will take a song and then they'll use the song as like something for a different fandom, for example.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe use it in a different style or different or slower or faster or different instruments, that sort of thing. Sometimes it changes the song's intent completely, but it's still just as entertaining.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting and it's very creative.
That's something that I like to hear from folks that they want to do some experimenting, be creative, and not just stay in their box. You sound like a person who likes to think outside the box.
Well, I've always been like that. I've been very creative and I like thinking of interesting things.
Yeah, and certainly there's a lot to offer in this person, and you'll be able to check out what they do on Twitch and certainly in the future on YouTube once the channel gets up and going. Hopefully, with a lot of music here soon. Um, and then now you play your own music, and you're writing music. Am I right?
I've been learning composing and music theory.
I'm almost afraid to bring up a topic at this point. By the way, rocket science. Are you learning? Yeah, I've been
Well, I
learning
kind
rocket
of
learning rocket science in my spare time. Uh,
don't
you-
ask me about math, but I know like basic theory.
well, yeah, obviously you're quite an amazing individual, and I really appreciate you taking the time to come on with us. And I hope that everything gets rolling here for you because you've got a lot of goals this year, and I personally would like to see you get to them because I think it's going to be an interesting ride.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know how exactly I'm gonna achieve all of these, to be honest, but we'll see. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, and we'll have the links to how you can get a hold of Kyo's stuff and see this person's continuing efforts to better not only yourself but hey the community around her. That's coming up here. You'll be able to catch that up in the just below this video on the channel itself. Kyo, thank you for coming on, and hopefully once you get things going, we'll get you on again soon.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed being here. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Eric Loy Interviews. Join us again next time when we talk to another member of the always interesting VTuber community.